Harrison Price for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the Historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sakaris alongside Blake Price. Four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson hitting switches, conducting things with intern Braden Goodman. We have a really big show for you today.
Ooh, what a jam-packed
There's
weekend.
just so much going on. It is amazing.
And really, actually, some profound victories for teams of note around these parts. So,
very profound victories. Our boys this summer, Whitecaps and Lions with their best, two of their most impressive victories of the season. Canada women's rugby is on an absolute vibe right now.
Yeah.
Seahawks win. We'll get to all of that later in the program, but first, on the Vancouver Canucks, who finished training camp in Penticton, have played their first preseason game. It was marvelous being up in Penticton, reconnecting with many friends, everybody at Yellow Dog. Thank you. Big thank yous to Mike, Melinda, John, Gil, Laura, and the whole team up there that took such great care of us. How was your drive home?
It was good. Good. Lickety split.
You really got to watch your speed on that connector. It can get, it's just such a big open road. It can sometimes creep up really high, that speed.
Lickety split.
Lots of cops, speed traps.
Lickety split. Got home ahead of schedule.
Even after a delay.
Well,
roadside delay.
Consider it an entrance fee. Consider it toll.
It's an expensive toll.
Well,
usually toll's a few bucks. Remember the old days? You throw change into a basket at a toll booth.
If there is a case to be made for an autobahn in British Columbia, the connector
is it for sure.
There's not a ton of up and downs.
It's not there yet. Well, it's a big climb and then a big descent
at the end. Yes,
or vice versa. If you're coming the other way. Well, I suppose both ways. And everyone around Penticton was like, "Oh, that's the guy with all the Junos, huh?" Like, yeah, that's Mike. And they're like, "Who has he worked with in the world of music?" And I'm like, "It's really a shorter list of who he hasn't worked with."
It's
in the world of music.
It is strange that he carries them around. Like I think that's a little weird.
Well,
backpack.
Wants to dress the set, right?
Just sticking out of the backpack.
The Redwoods Golf Course poll question today. Do you want to see rookie first-round pick Braden Cootes make the team? You can vote yes. You can vote no. Do so at the Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. Our buddy David Quadrelli, the editor-in-chief of Canucks Army, of course, the host of Canucks Conversation. We had David on the show, what was that, for Thursday? Was really impressed with Braden Cootes' game tonight. That was last night in Seattle. Continues to build on what's been a strong first impression in his first NHL training camp. Answer me the poll.
No. Don't want. He shouldn't. Don't need.
Is that because you gave him a 0% chance of making this team late last week and are already worried about that?
It's just, he's not going to play the seat. Like, if you get a thrill out of the guy doing the 8-game stint to start a season, fill your boots. He's not making this team. He will not be a Vancouver Canuck in December. So why not just let the kid develop appropriately? I wish it was in the AHL, but play a ton of minutes, dominate the Western League, and be a leader in Seattle. That's what he should do. And then next year, I will give him a half chance to make this squad. But even then, it probably should be the next rung.
They're weak at center. They don't have any right-handed centers.
An 18-year-old kid is not your answer to that hole. Like he's just not.
Can he be a bridge though till November, December when maybe some guys become available via trade?
At a possible expense of him being overmatched and and maybe being frustrated. Like if he's not good out there come NHL regular season, which is very different than what we're about to see from him in the preseason.
No doubt.
I just think I would Niels Amon it before I'd Braden Cootes it. But you don't even need
Come on, you and Jeff all the time. Oman, there's no bottom line ever. Why are they ever playing?
You don't need
Niels
Niels
I've
Amon.
had to defend Niels Amon a little bit in terms of the penalty killing.
I'm joking about you don't need Niels Amon. You've got Atu Ratu. You got Teddy Bluger.
No. You were one injury away, from Niels Amon.
Yeah, one injury away. Yeah.
Well,
until we see that injury, I don't need to consider that.
Are you one training camp injury away from Braden Cootes?
Cross bridges when we get to them.
I'm voting yes. There's nothing to be fearful of here, everybody. It would be an outstanding achievement for this young man if he is undeniable and forces his way into this lineup. I mean, unless you think that losing someone like an Arshdeep Bains or a Vitaly Kravtsov on waivers would be some massive wound to the organization, I can't really see any negative byproducts of Braden Cootes being so good that the Vancouver Canucks want to keep him amongst the group, the roster, if not the lineup, for opening night and beyond. If he looks overmatched in his NHL sample size, no matter how many games that might be, you can always send him back down to junior. But they are weak at center ice. They do not have right-handed center options. I loved what I read and what I saw of this young man heading into the draft process. I loved what I heard from him after the Canucks took him. It seemed like they were singularly focused on taking him with the pick that they had. We talked about how they didn't interview or explore many of the other candidates at the draft combine. It's never a bad thing when you have a drafted prospect who is already exceeding his draft slot and showing greater progress sooner than you might have expected.
That sounds like a franchise that is desperate for any positivity, and I don't think that they want to go down that road just yet. That sounds like something the Seattle Kraken would do.
Well, the Philadelphia Flyers did it last year with Jet Luchenko, who was a similar prospect to Cootes in terms of where he was selected, in terms of being a right shot, responsible two-way center. He did not hang the whole season with the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, he was dispatched back to junior, which could be the same thing for Braden Cootes. To me, and what is it, a 9-game look typically is what NHL teams look at when they keep junior players. That becomes an important threshold to them. And then, of course, there is also the other option of having him with the National Hockey League team. And, okay, he's not playing as much, or he's not guaranteed to play each and every night. You dispatch him to Canada for the World Juniors over the course of December, and you make the decision in January. And, of course, Cootes would be a younger player on a Team Canada because it's typically a 19-year-old.
He would be a younger player on Team Canada. That says everything you need to know about whether or not he should be on this team. If he's young for the World Juniors, he's too young for the Vancouver
Well, he'd
Canucks.
be an 18-year-old on the World Juniors.
I know.
Canada typically takes
You're
a number
right.
of 18-year-olds, but yes, there are 19-year-olds there. He turns 19 in February.
I'm not down on the
he's
prospect.
An older 18-year-old.
Let me be clear. I'm not down on the prospect, and it's great that he's having as good a camp as he has. It is great that he's showing as well. That puts a lot of faith in, or gives me a lot of optimism for the years to come. So I'm glad he's doing this rather than the alternative, rather than Jonathan Lekkerimäki, to be honest. But it still doesn't change my opinion on where he should be.
The junior golf camps at the Redwoods Golf Course have already sold out, so we'll be telling you more about the winter lessons and camps available coming up soon. But for now, private, semi-private junior lessons also available, flexible to your schedule for children ages 6 to 16. Set your kids up for the sport of a lifetime. Get to redwoods-golf.com/instruction, and Blake and I can attest, having done a couple of lessons now with their pro Craig, one on course, one in the fantastic practice facility. It will absolutely improve your game instantly. In fact, I saw results Friday when we played with the Yellow Dog guys Yeah, up in Penticton.
Congratulations. This is the downside of him getting lessons. I don't want him getting better.
It's coming. Our top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, a Foolish Winery. And boy, did we have a blast there on the weekend. The first of 88 scheduled games is in the books. Autumn is officially upon us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's hockey season.
Oh, he's made it clear. Okay, if Matt says so.
Well, we've had games played. Mm-hmm. The calendar is officially turned. What more do you need?
League scheduled game. Well, actually, you're kind of in charge of your own preseason, actually. But
Canucks lose 5-3 in Seattle, their first of 6 preseason games before, of course, the final 82-game regular season slate. We're moving to 84 next season. Their next one is Wednesday at Abbotsford Center. Braden Cootes, the aforementioned, assists on a Victor Mancini goal. He gets hit with a high stick and carries on. He's called smart, calm, reliable by his head coach. Here's Adam Foote on Braden Cootes' debut.
Smart. He's reliable. For a young kid, his hockey IQ is very high, and he's able to adapt in these games. And, I like the way he hung in there when things probably weren't going our way. He played above pucks, made good decisions with the pucks, and it's nice to see he's calm at such a young age, so there was good things from him.
You hear that, Blake? Adaptable, above the puck. He said on Saturday, he was talked to by reporters Saturday when they scrimmaged in Penticton at the South Okanagan Event Center. And he said he still had to work on keeping up to NHL pace, but he didn't look out of place.
No, and
against a pretty good lineup that the Kraken dressed. Like, that was closer to their NHL team than it was their AHL team.
I think most of the media that have seen him all weekend would probably disagree with Foote on that he looked capable at the NHL pace. Now, making decisions we're just talking skating, he looked capable. Now, making decisions at that speed and playing the right way, that's a different thing.
Okay. So, I think it was Thursday last week. It might have been Wednesday.
Yeah.
Where we said chances that he makes the team. You said 0, and I said 2 to 3. I'm up to 10%.
10%. Wow.
Well, it's a 1 in 10. It's still a long shot, but have you moved off 0?
We're talking beyond the junior eligible
games
played?
We're talking just opening night. We're talking opening. Does he make the team out of camp? That's the discussion we had last week. That's the discussion I'm going to hold you to. 1%. Okay. Victor Mancini scores, came into camp in great shape, we learned, and showed energy last night. Here's the head coach, Adam Foote, on his big right shot defenseman.
Powerful. He came in camp in really good shape, and you saw the power, and he got excited once the one goal came, and then sometimes I wouldn't say do too much, but I like the way he had the juices going, the energy, but a lot of good things, but we'll have to calm some of it down in the neutral zone, but the beauty is he's just got the power, and he's pushing hard.
Who does that remind you of?
The coach speak or the...
No, just the attributes that he talked about there. Wrong shot. This is a left-handed former Canuck. Big body, can skate, a little rambunctious, a little excited at times. Needed some reins on him. Recent history.
Oh, Nikita?
Yeah.
Big Nikita. I think this kid has more puck skills. That, and to me, that's where Victor Mancini is at a little bit. It's a little bit confounding. We're going to talk about it with Harman Dayal later in the show. When we watched him in the National Hockey League last year, Blake, there were a number of nights where he treated the puck like a grenade. There were a number of nights where he was really fighting the puck in those 16 games he played.
I have a theory
for the Canucks. You watch him in the AHL, and he's astounding on the puck. He's really comfortable, so much so that he's rushing up ice. Theory?
I think he was intimidated by Tocchet and the system whether it was too complicated or not explained well enough, and I don't know that he knew
Or
what.
Tocchet was just wholly against him carrying the puck.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know that he knew what to do. I think when he got the puck, he was like, I forget what I'm supposed to do here.
Wouldn't be the first. Philip Hedl too, right? Philip Hedl, when he came over from the Rangers, was just carrying the puck in like, okay, this is what I do. And
then down at the AHL level, he's just better.
No, we're at chip and chasing.
At the AHL level, he's just better than everybody.
That's it.
I go back to Eric Branstrom from last year. Eric Branstrom looks like Quinn Hughes when he plays in the AHL. It's just different for him up at the end. So Mancini he's got the body, and that Branstrom doesn't.
Yes, to say the least.
He's got to find confidence now at this level. And you can rein it in. You can rein in the guy doing too much in the neutral zone. That you can work on. But you actually do need him to feel good carrying the puck. And performances like this will help.
And this opens the discussion. And for a lot of us, when we were sketching out this Vancouver Canucks opening night roster, and of course beyond just the lineup, beyond the 18 skaters and the 2 goalies, but the 3 spares, 23. A lot of us were sketching out 14 forwards and 7 defensemen. And the reason doing that is Mancini, Wielander are both ineligible waiver-wise. So you can just send them right down to the farm. They do not have to pass through waivers. Mm-hmm. Whereas you have a number of your forwards, Arshdeep Bains, Vitaly Kravtsov come to mind, who do require waivers, Linus Karlsson. So the idea being you want to protect the assets and keep the guys who require waivers up, lest you risk losing them. Now, the flip side is best time to get a player through waivers is usually when teams are opening or setting that opening night roster. So there is a calculation to be had. Is it possible, Blake, they keep 8 defensemen because Mancini has become undeniable? Is it possible they keep 7 defensemen and put the just signed this summer Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who has a history with Rutherford and Alvin in Pittsburgh, on waivers and try and send him down?
I think everybody's got a P.O. Joseph. I think if you do it strategically at the right time,
this would be the right time.
Yeah. Sooner rather than later.
And then that gives you a legitimate right shot, a third legitimate right shot. Because right now you're looking at DPD, Derek Forbert, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, and some of them have played a fair amount on the right side, but they're all lefties. You'd be looking at playing a lefty on the right side. Foote and Tocchet were very hesitant to do that over the last 2.5 years.
I think you owe it to yourself, if you're Adam Foote, to give yourself that option. As capable as those lefties might be on the right side, I think you owe it to yourself to scratch the itch the way you like to scratch it, which is to go left, right, and see, like, this kid might have a longer leash than the other guys do on the left side because he's the coveted right. So I think you let this kid run himself out over the preseason and see how he responds. And see how he responds to the critiques and the tweaks that are being asked of him about his behavior in the neutral zone and giving the puck away, about when to pinch and get involved, all that sort of stuff. You don't want to kill his moxie, but there is coaching beyond the junior ranks, so see how he responds.
It was also a good night for winger Niels Hoglander, coming off that dreadful season, just the 8 goals in 72 games after having 3 times that many, 24 in his breakout campaign of 23-24. That is a good sign for the Vancouver Canucks because you absolutely need Niels Hoglander to be closer to that 24-goal guy than he was to the 8-goal guy of last year going forward. Not to mention there very well could be real estate available on the second line. We say that because as we flip the leaf and now look at some guys who perhaps didn't do as great through the weekend training camp and the scrimmage and the first preseason game. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Lekkerimaki, we talked about it last week, the first-round pick of a few years ago was given some prime real estate alongside Evander Kane and Philip Hedl on the second line in those early camp practices. Well, Hoglander was skating with Hedel and Lekkerimaki last night, so basically in the Evander Kane spot. Lekkerimaki has not, according to all of those who watched all the sessions, the scrimmage, and the preseason, done the Carpe Diem, seize the day, seize the opportunity you were given to play with other offensive players, because it's one of the things we wondered about Foote. Is he going to give a young guy who is top six or bust the opportunity to play with those better offensive players? The answer to that was yes. The answer to did Lekkerimaki do enough with it that you think him above some of these other candidates, Karlsson, Baines, Kravtsov, and of course an innate defenseman concoction, has he done enough to separate himself from that group? The answer is no.
And Chase Stillman ends up stealing some ice time from him in the late going yesterday. And that's not a good sign. I mean, This is a forgotten first rounder in Chase Stillman, who, hey, I hope he turns into a story and proves us all wrong here. But, this is a guy that had single-digit points last season here in Chase Stillman. This is not a guy that should be, taking away ice time from Jonathan Lekkerimaki, who at times looked so good.
Yeah, he's a jag, if you will, just a guy.
Well, yeah, he's flirting with it. He's only 22.
So he's got time.
He's got time to prove us wrong here. But yeah, it's not looking good for him right now. He's gonna have to prove people wrong, and that should not be the competition for Jonathan Lekkerimaki.
Two things on Lekkerimaki that I think have to get better, and I suspect will be works in progress in mostly Abbotsford this year, particularly the first half of the season. Now, said last week, and wholly believe, I do think the Vancouver Canucks at some point this season are going to need Jonathan Lekkerimaki's offense. I just don't see enough goals in the lineup that they have right now, and this is probably, if he's not number one, he's right there with Besser and DeBrusk in terms of natural goal scorer.
Yeah.
He's on your podium in terms of skill set. We knew he was a slight guy. I'm still not sure he's up to NHL size and strength to be able to play in those tighter quarters. And then number two, I know Thomas Drance has talked a lot and written about this in The Athletic. He's not slow, but he's not NHL fast. And if you're going to have that skill set, and if you're going to have to rely on getting into some open spaces to be able to release that awesome shot that he has, both from a velocity point of view, but also an accuracy in the way he gets it off. Remember that one goal last year coming down the left wing where I'm not sure the goaltender in the defense thought he could get a shot off like that on goal with that kind of release. If you're going to be that sort of player, you are going to have to separate from time to time with foot speed.
And but that's, it's ironic. The goals that he scored that are most impressive at the NHL level have actually been on the rush.
That's what I mean.
But despite the fact he doesn't own that foot speed necessarily, but what he's going to need to do, and we saw this, Brock Besser is not a fast skater. But from day one, night one in the National Hockey League for Brock Besser, guess what? He didn't use his feet per se, or his gifted feet, to find space. He used the matter between his ears to do that.
He was outstanding in terms of his hockey IQ. And for some, Blake, that's something you can coach, and that's something that just some have and others don't. I'm not sure where Lekkerimaki fits in on that yet. But I think it's going to fall short of Besser because
it was effortless for Besser.
So but I also think he's a better skater than Besser and should be an even better skater going forward. We need to get him on the Bo Horvat program. If you remember all those years ago, Willie Desjardins, I saw us skating that first camp and I thought this is going to be a problem. Second camp, Bo Horvat was one of the better skaters amongst the Canucks hopefuls. Also not a great night for Surrey's Arshdeep Baines. It was a giveaway that led to a goal. This after The Athletic tapped him as one of the players who helped their cause in camp. More on that later with Harman Dayal, who joins us. But if you're Arshdeep Baines, you're in a battle with Linus Karlsson, with Vitaly Kravtsov, with Jonathan Lekkerimaki, maybe now Braden Cootes, perhaps even Max Sasson. And then again, the 8 defenseman concoction where if they keep 8, it's going to be one less spare forward. So you're got a lot of internal competition there if you're Arshdeep Baines with the shorter preseason, Blake. He ain't got much more time to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
He has got to show his wares. Off day today, tomorrow at practice. If he is one of the players selected to play in Abbotsford on Wednesday, and then through the weekend when the Canucks are back at it with preseason games. Where is it? Friday. That's right, Friday. The Friday home game against the Seattle Kraken. Sunday in Edmonton. You're not sweating him on the waiver wire, though.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, this is not a player that has shown enough of the top end, the top bar, where I think he's going to be that shiny object for other fish in the sea.
I love the story here. A Punjabi kid from Surrey who led the WHL in scoring, goes undrafted, gets signed by his hometown team, becomes an AHL All-Star, gets into NHL games before his home public. He's got his first NHL goal. Smart, two-way player.
I'll say this, Matt.
I love the story here, but yes.
We do have to be fair. He is a year younger than Linus Karlsson is.
He'll be 25, Arshdeep, in January.
In the new year. Mm-hmm. This is a big year. Even if he goes down to the American Hockey League, he was 43 points in 50 games. If he's going to do this, be a National Hockey League player, he's got to be a better than a point per game player. Like he's got
at the AHL level.
At the AHL level.
Well, it's just he's not a power play NHL guy. He's not a penalty killing thus far NHL guy. He's a responsible two-way player, I think, at the NHL level. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's crafty. There's part of me that wonders, is it just a case of inexperience? And as he plays more, will he figure more out? But he did play a fair number of games last year, and there was not much of a bottom line.
In fact, totality, 21 games. He's got
over 2
point.
seasons. He's got 1.1 goal.
Like,
so it's a bit of an awkward fit. Like, he's not big enough to think he brings a size element. He's not sort of agitator enough to think he brings that pest, shift disturber element. He basically has to find an NHL identity. And I'm honest, I'm not sure what it is.
And again, I don't know that Max Sasson is an NHL player, but Max Sasson's got 29 NHL games. He's got 7 points. Not gaudy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's shown us something. There's something there.
I like Sasson's wheels better, or at least I think he plays the game at a faster pace. I think he processes the game at a faster pace. I'm still not giving up on the fact that he can play center. So,
and he's older too. He's a year older than
he's 25. He just turned 25 a couple of weeks ago. So,
and Linus Karlsson's about to be 26. So,
but Karlsson, I mean, with what he showed you in the NHL and then the AHL postseason run last year, I mean, that's got to count for something.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Ty Young gives up 3 goals after coming in the second period. He's in a competition, of course, with Nikita Tolopilo for starts at Abbotsford, so this was an early gauge on that. Tolopilo drew some praise from head coach Adam Foote after the game. Something we'll talk about if we have to talk about it, and we sure hope we don't have to talk about it because of everything that Thatcher Demco has been through from an injury point of view. But if you did need a third goaltender at some point, is Jiri Patera, because he has played in NHL games, the leader in the clubhouse right now? What would it take for Nikita Tolopilo, who did get some NHL games at the end of last season? What would it take for Tolopilo to bypass him and be the third organizational goaltender in terms of NHL games? Not he has the prospect status that, of course, Jiri Patera does not, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be the first call-up if you need a goaltender.
Tolopilo had a really nice year. Remember, he had more starts than Shilov, so I think Tolopilo's got a very real possibility here of being the number 3 goalie in the Canucks organization in pretty short order. If he has a good start to the season, he's got to hold off the guy with NHL games under his belt in Patera.
Yep.
I think there's a really real, I would say betting odds are Nikita Tolopilo is the number 3
Well, he
guy.
got into those games last year because, of course, the season was lost, everybody, and they wanted to see him. It was 2 games. He played 84 minutes. Was at 215 goals against. He got a win, save percentage of 85s. And then, of course, Ty Young is the young guy who's hungry and coming at
But I was talking about the AHL level. At the AHL level, he had 36 starts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a lot of games.
he was taking starts away from Shelovs.
From Shelovs.
Yep. As mentioned, we had an extraordinary time at Yellow Dog. I can only imagine what a football Sunday looks there, given the banks of televisions they have encircling that bar.
I think a football experience there too, because
I think that would be cool,
especially with Thomas Muller here with the Whitecaps now, and Yellow Dog has started Dogtoberfest.
German sausages,
a full menu.
I had the schnitzel.
Did you?
It's delicious.
I love schnitzels so
with
much.
sauerkraut. And do you know they have like 20 homemade mustards there?
Yeah,
I kept hearing people say mustard bar. I'm like, what is going on? Mustard bar? Never heard of anything in my life. And then I saw the list. I was like, oh my gosh. Someone has gotten very creative with their mustards.
You should go check out Dogtoberfest. It's available in Port Moody, of course, at their location there, as well as in Penticton. So you don't have to, be lickety split on the connector like I was to go enjoy it. Sip your way through the German-inspired brews. There will be Stein holding competitions. I don't know what that means. Costume contests and more. Dogtoberfest is on at Yellow Dog.
I told you this Friday, the Stein carrying competitions are like what you see in the Munich beer halls with the servers. How many Steins can I actually carry?
Plastic Steins? I'm hoping plastic Steins. It's a lot of cleanup.
I think they just sort of resign themselves to the fact there's going to be spilt beer and broken steins, kind of like the Greeks with the Opa.
It's a lot of steins.
I think the Bavarians are just like, you know what? There's going to be some broken glass on the ground. There's going to be some beer spilled. It's the cost of doing Oktoberfest or Dogtoberfest, as the case may be. Hoglander, Bluger, Garland. They were together as a line in training camp. We'll talk to J-Pat about this later in the show. I saw Quads and the Canucks Army guys looking at this as well. It suggests a couple of things. It suggests that Teddy Bluger is their third line center because those are more third line wingers than fourth line wingers, right? And this was not the case with last night's game lineup. Bluger and Hoglander played in the game. Garland did not. So there were some changes there. I believe O'Connor was in the Garland spot. But again, that's probably a fourth line winger elevating. So it suggests that Bluger is going to start as your 3C. It suggests that Ratu is going to start as your 4C and is going to have to show that he can outperform Teddy Bluger to be that 3C. It also suggests, Blake, that they would really like someone, if it's not Lekkerimaki, then maybe somebody else, to win that second line job with Hedel and Evander Kane.
There's opportunity there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the bottom six is very much up for grabs. Like, I think if Ratu comes out and shows well, with Linus Karlsson, a guy that he knows all about from his Abbotsford days, if they create some chances, I think the Canucks are going to want to move him up the lineup and see what he does there.
And Ratu did not play last night, so I suspect he will play Wednesday in Abbotsford, get his opportunity.
He'll feel comfortable there.
You wonder if he's going to play with Connor Garland, because Garland did not play yesterday, so is he going to get sort of similar real estate line mates, if you will?
I would love to see that. I would love to see what that looks like.
Yep.
I mean, he knows what's up on the line. Like, this is where Do Something sort of had its genesis with J-Pat all these years ago, is players who know that they have something riding on it. Mm-hmm. Show us that you are, like, the fact that Vitaly Kravtsov has not shown, like, how do you come to this training camp and not show anything?
Something.
And not do something. Do something.
Do something.
And so for Ratu, he's got a variation of that. You have a dangling carrot. You are front of line to grab the carrot. Go get it.
I can remember talking to Gillis one day, and he said, Matt, I got to run. I got a meeting with a player. And I said, oh, which player? He said, Taylor Pyatt. I said, oh, what's the meeting about? He says, I'm going to try to express to him in the cleanest terms possible the opportunity we are trying to give him with Hank and Danny and the opportunity that he is pissing away on a game-to-game basis. Remember that when Hyatt was the guy
absolutely. Yeah.
for Hank and Danny? Was the genesis of Do Something... We'll talk to Jeff about that.
It was Victor Oreshkovich, if memory serves.
It wasn't Brendan Gaunce in the 57-game, 0-goal season coming off the 20 games with 1 point.
No, it was Victor.
Remember at one point, Brendan Gaunce was at 77 career NHL games with 1 goal and 6 points.
Yeah, no, I think it was Victor Oreshkovich, who all we were asking for was to hit somebody, make the glass rattle. That's all people want.
Because he was big, he was fast. He came with Ballard, right? Was it in the...
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
And he didn't do something.
Didn't do anything.
No. Max Sasson has also skated as a center in training camp. This is noteworthy because last week when we were talking about what happens if you have an injury at center, Nils him on, and because we thought they viewed Sasson as a winger. I thought it was Drance over the summer that said they view him as a winger. So perhaps a change of heart there, or perhaps just you're so light at center ice that you have to see if Sasson can stick there as an NHLer. He had Drew O'Connor and Danila Klimovich on his flanks during the game. Räty was with Kravtsov and Karlsson. So you can see that could very well be a fourth line, right? Räty with Kravtsov and Karlsson. You're one injury away, I think, on the wing from having that as a potential line.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Baines, maybe it's Sasson, but that's something I could very much see. Roster moves also made by the Vancouver Canucks yesterday. Andrei Medvedev, the second-round pick from this past June's draft, the goaltender of the London Knights, he got sent back down to junior. The OHL season is underway. I was kind of hoping we would see Medvedev in a period or so in a preseason game.
So many goalies.
There's a lot of that's it. It's a glut of goaltenders. So much hype about this young man. So many anecdotes about, he came off the board, and a lot of teams, their heart broke because he was going to be their guy in the second round, or they were hoping that he fell to them, or they were considering him with a late first-round pick. So he gets sent back down. Look, he's going to be a marvelous goaltender on one of the best teams in junior hockey. I think it's going to be okay for Medvedev. Other forwards sent down, Ben Sherratt. He was doing great in OHL preseason. Riley Paterson, Kieran Dervin, who's a
those first two guys played so well, though, they got themselves an ELC. Like that's their secondary goal. That's their primary goal from this training camp. They know they're not making the team, but they want to make sure they get a contract. And they played so well that the Canucks say, "Yeah, we're going to invest in you. You're making the next step in your prospect, journey." So Sherratt and Paterson sign on the dotted line today, and they get their ELC going.
Yep, and Dervin is their third-round pick of this past year's draft. He just basically dipped a toe in the OHL with Kingston last season. So this is a left shot centerman who's got some tools, and we'll see if he can blossom in his second major junior campaign. Josh Bloom quickly reassigned to Abbotsford.
Not a good sign for Josh Bloom.
No, because I would have thought that Josh Bloom, who's a bit of an older guy himself,
he's 22,
would have had a little more run, maybe gotten into a preseason.
When there's only one guy assigned to the AHL directly, and it's you, that tells you that most of your contemporaries are staying put, and that's not a good sign for you.
And we should mention, we talked about this with Steve Ellis, the DFO. Dervin chose an unusual route, St. Andrews College, the high school hockey program in Ontario that has produced some players. He's with Kingston now. He'll be heading to Penn State University, where he'll miss Gavin McKenna because Gavin will be one and done.
Right.
Let's get to our menu today. It is brought to you by Greta, a fantastic spot to watch all the games. To pregame or postgame, you were mere steps away from the arena or the stadium. So if you're going to the soccer match Wednesday, the hockey game, the football game Friday, the spot for you. It's also a great venue for a team building event, whether that's at the workplace, whether that's a ball team, whether that's a family reunion. Great street food, the Bitchin' Arcade that encircles the bar, and bottomless wings for $25. Greta, 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. Harman Dayal is going to join us from The Athletic and, of course, Canucks Conversation. Great takes Harman has on Braden Cootes, on Archie Baines, on Mancini, on Kravtsov, and a number of the camp battles or roster battles. We're through camp, so I guess they're roster battles now that are taking place. J-Pat as well on all things Vancouver Canucks. Hang around to hear what he had to say about Thatcher Demco, because I didn't see a lot of
discourse on it.
I didn't see a lot of discourse on it. Did I say Ben Sherratt and I meant Gabe Sherratt, or did you say?
Yeah.
I did, Okay. Gabe Sherratt. There is a Ben Sherratt.
Yeah, he's an NHLer.
He's an NHL. Gabe Sherratt trying to be an NHL with the Vancouver Canucks. And as mentioned, a beefy final segment with the Whitecaps doing what they're doing, the Lions doing what they're doing, the Mariners and Blue Jays doing what they are doing. It is going to be a fun September and month of October here with Seahawks.
The ski goggles were out.
Yeah.
Celebrations. Now they will celebrate again if they win the division.
I know. It's
right?
too many celebrations for me. Bet365 bets of the day, Blake. I was not very good on the weekend. I didn't believe in the Lions. Lost that one. I had the wrong NFL game, so you fire away.
One thing we didn't touch on today, by the way, is the Laver Cup. Did you stumble upon the Laver Cup at all?
I saw it was going on.
I mean, there's nothing there because there's no Canadians involved.
There's no Canadians. Of course, it was in Vancouver last year, but no, I didn't.
But it's a pretty good atmosphere. Like
it looked fun,
and Andre Agassi was fairly into it. So I don't know. There's something there. But looking at the Monday nighter and Lions and Ravens doesn't get me too excited. These are the kind.
Really?
No, it doesn't.
And those are two Super Bowl contenders.
But I got no connection. So these are the kind of games that you want to bet on.
Manu from UBC Lions. Anyways.
Okay. Maybe that'll swing me in the right direction then.
Well, if he has to play,
I'm going to take the Detroit Lions. It's considering
you're taking with the points or to win straight up?
No, straight up.
Oh wow,
money line
plus 80,
plus 195.
Oh, there you go.
That's a big number.
Blake's biting kneecaps with Dan Campbell. Quinn Hughes 84.5, Elias Paterson 76.5, Brock Besser 62.5. Those are your over-unders from Bet365 for season point totals for those individual.
Give it to me one more time.
Canucks. Hughes 84.5.
Yep.
PD 76.5. It's actually the exact same number as JT Miller.
Funny.
Over, and Besser 62.5.
Over, under.
We had heard so much from Brock on July 1st about coming back to the only NHL team that he's ever known after actually hitting unrestricted free agency status. I played golf in front of him on Friday. He was in the group behind us. Mm-hmm. To say he was in great spirits is an understatement because, he's not the most demonstrative or loud guy. Mm-hmm. But when you're hearing Brock Besser over Connor Garland and Evander Kane, as I was for most of the afternoon, that's probably a really good sign. I think he shot a blistering 72. Well done, Brock. I'm going over 62.5.
Really? Okay.
Number 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I see more than 30 goals this year. And so I only need a bar of, 28 or so assists, something in that order.
That would be a big boost to the Canucks if they got a 65-point
40
goal
goals
season.
2 years. So
yep.
This segment of presentation of Bet365, whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Harman Dayal coming up next. Harrison Price from the Historic Wall Center. This next segment brought to you by the Daily Face-Off and the brand new DFO Fantasy Draft Kit, the one-stop shop you need for everything to build that perfect fantasy hockey team. We're talking player projections, updated line combos, power play units, sleeper picks, bus warnings, team previews. Basically, it's going to make you look like a genius while your competitors look like they're drafting blindfolded. Whether you're a seasoned vet, fantasy rookie, this kit has everything you need to dominate your league. So before you make your first pick or panic in round 5, head over to thedailyfaceoff.com/draft-kit. Get your hands on the fantasy draft kit. Fantasy hockey domination. I'm skeptical, but it says domination.
Domination.
At dailyfaceoff.com. Go now. Your bragging rights depend on it. As we welcome in the co-host of Canucks Conversation here on the Nation Network, the athletic staff writer covering the Vancouver Canucks. It's Harman Dayal back here on Harrison Price. Harm, good to see you this weekend. How are you?
I'm doing amazing, guys. Hockey season's back in full swing.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm amped up, ready to go.
Yeah, it really does change when you see them on the ice in competitive arenas. So looking forward to this. We talked about that in the opening segment. First of 88 scheduled games. Of course, we're hoping for more here. Harm, saw your story on training camp with the standouts and those who maybe gave a little bit back to the pack. Let's start with the rookie. Is on the tips of everybody's tongue, Braden Cootes. What did you see from him in camp and then again last night in that preseason game?
He's exceeded all expectations for an 18-year-old rookie that was drafted in the middle of the first round this year. Within 5 to 10 minutes of day one of camp, just watching the whole group go through rush-based drills, you could immediately tell this is a player who skates and shoots the puck like an NHLer. It was the way that he moves up and down the ice, the pop that he has off the rush with his release, how deceptive it is, how much he's able to lift the puck even from tight areas around the net. You could tell this guy looks comfortable and doesn't look out of place at all among NHLers. And then the next question was going to be, all right, it's one thing to shoot and skate like an NHLer, but in more competitive environments like Saturday scrimmage and Sunday's preseason game against the Kraken, how is he going to hold up physically as more of an undersized centerman and even with the reads, making decisions at a quicker NHL pace as opposed to his WHL experience. And that's where Saturday's scrimmage and during Sunday's preseason game, you can tell that defensively he's already always in the right spots. He has good awareness of how to take slot passing lanes away. He had a terrific sequence on the back check yesterday. He, even on breakouts, his first touch defensively is very good, and he's able to make those quick plays under pressure that mean the difference between advancing the puck up the ice or a dangerous turnover in the defensive zone that could immediately lead to a chance against. So already very mature and advanced in that area. Now, I think he's still facing an uphill battle to actually make the Canucks out of camp, just because a lot of the other centers ahead of him haven't necessarily done anything to warrant not making the team. But the longer Cootes continues to do this and not look out of place, I'd say it's more than anything for me impressive in terms of what it could mean for his long-term future, more so than I think he's going to be a driver in the NHL right away, just because he's still 18 years old. And as much as he held his own in that Seattle game, and I thought, whoa, that was great to see from an 18-year-old, I still think there are going to be moments, especially as the pace ramps up closer to the end of the preseason, and even if he somehow does play in a regular season game or a few of them, that there's still room to improve, understandably, as a play driver.
So we're asking on our Redwoods Golf Course poll question, if you want to see him make the team, we'll modify it for you. You do see a pathway then, Harm, to him making this team and getting that junior hockey, 9-game look-see in the early going?
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They don't have any right shot centers, and I think the thing that maybe hurts him is the fact that Ratu has still looked pretty good in camp, and he it would require waivers to get sent down. So to me, he's a lock to make the 23-man roster. Hedo's healthy. Bluger got the first look in the 3C spot to open camp with Garland and Hoglander, so the organization still seems to believe in him. So the centers ahead of him are still in a pretty good position, but if he really forces the issue and continues ramping things up, then he has a bit of a long shot to do the Jet Lachenko thing. And that's the example that I brought up on Canucks Conversation last week was Lachenko, same position, same handedness, same sort of profile as more of a two-way centerman that was drafted in the middle of the first round. And he got into 4 games for the Flyers as an 18-year-old before he was ultimately sent down to the CHL.
The other interesting guy to bring up in comparison is the path taken by Shane Wright, who we saw last night as well on the other side of the ledger. Shane Wright twice got the 8-game look from the Seattle Kraken, and including in his, now he was a 4th overall pick, so different pedigree to some degree, but including in his draft year.
4th that some people thought might go first overall for a good part of that season.
And I think he was robbed, not so much that year, but certainly last year. I thought he should have been a Seattle Kraken, and they said no. They sent him back down despite 5 points, 4 goals in those 8 games that they gave him. And it didn't ruin him. Like, he had a great year last year in his first full year. He's still looking like he's going to be a very certified top 6 player in the National Hockey League. So it's not going to ruin Braden Cootes to wait another year, maybe even a couple. The question is, do the Canucks get value added by having this kid? And that's really the calculus here, Harm, is do they need this kid? Because he doesn't need this necessarily, as Shane Wright sort of showed. But do they need him?
We'll see as the competition ramps up, and especially when I mean Seattle had their veteran-laden NHL lineup anyway, but the closer you get to the start of regular season, that's when you see the vets around the league really start to ramp up, and it's going to be in that environment, in puck battles, with the pace of things. We're going to see how much of an impact he can make. I think the way I would frame it is this: Cootes, I feel, can hold his own in an NHL environment based on what I've seen so far, but it's how much can he move the needle and ultimately what's best for his development. And I still think a full year in junior is going to be what is optimal for his development, especially because that's the kind of environment where you're able to play top line, first unit power play. You're able to just be in all situations, stud, put up a ton of points. And it's different than you, let's say, make the NHL. You're maybe in and out of the lineup. You're not seeing a lot of minutes. You maybe don't get to grow your offensive game as much because you're so focused on not making mistakes, and your defensive details have to be on point just to survive in the NHL. And even with this organization, I think we saw, going all the way back to even Jake Vertanen and Jared McCann, and those were 19-year-olds, not even 18-year-olds, that sure, they were fine. They were okay when they first made the NHL, but ultimately it would have been best for their development in hindsight if they had spent another year in junior or just not being rushed to the NHL. So
if this was next year when you can store the junior player in the A, would he be a perfect candidate for that?
Oh, yeah. I think you would for sure deserve an opportunity in the AHL. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Too bad we have to wait the one more year, unfortunately.
Yeah, if you're not familiar in the new CBA, they do have a provision that allows every team to keep a 19-year-old in the American Hockey League. As we know now, if you come from major junior hockey, you got to be 20 to play in the AHL. Harm Arshdeep Bains, Surrey's Arshdeep Bains, you had him listed as one of your camp standouts. Didn't go as well for Arshdeep last night in Seattle against the Kraken. Tell me what you liked from the weekend in Penticton and how yesterday's performance in the preseason game might have affected him.
Yeah, he played really well during Saturday's scrimmage. He had a sick assist on a neutral zone play that led to one of Kiefer Sherwood's goals. And there are a lot of traits that you look at and go, this could play at the NHL level. He's a really smart player. He sees the ice well. He's effective on the forecheck. He wins battles, but then look, none of what happens at camp or on Saturday scrimmage matters if he isn't able to translate that to preseason games. And he needs to be a lot better than he was yesterday if he wants to crack this lineup. I think from what we've seen from Baines, not even during last night's game, but in general, the 16 games or so that he's played at the NHL level, he's played a little bit too safe, right? It's almost like he's so focused on trying to play the right way that he's unable to make the kind of plays offensively that made him a standout at the AHL level. And for me with Baines, if he isn't making enough of an impact offensively, well, then he's reliable defensively. He's not going to hurt you, but he doesn't add value in that capacity either. And so why would a head coach keep you in the lineup when there are other guys who could fill more niche roles, whether it's as more of an energetic big body that can lay hits on the forecheck, or players who can play on the PK, or guys that actually do put up points in a bottom six role. So for Baines, yeah, I liked his play on Saturday, but he's got to be a lot better than he was against Seattle to make this Canucks team.
Would you worry about losing him on waivers, Harm? He does require waivers.
I think there's a chance he could get claimed. Is it the end of the world if he gets claimed? No. He's ultimately got to prove that he's earned it. He's not, let's say, Ratu, where you look at Ratu, and he's had a good camp, but even if he didn't have a good camp and had a quieter preseason, playing the premium position at center ice, how well he played down the stretch, even his overall pedigree as a prospect, you would look at Ratu and say, he could have a nightmare training camp in preseason. You still got to keep him on the 23-man roster, just because you don't want to expose him to waivers and potentially lose him. I don't think Baines is quite in that tier. Ideally, you're able to keep him as organizational depth, and you hope that he can make strides, but it's not the end of the world if you have to expose him to waivers, because let's say a Linus Karlsson or even a Max Sasson is more NHL ready.
On the defensive side of things, I think Victor Mancini might have been reading all the press clippings of all these other named defensemen that might be above him, including young players like Elias Paterson and others. He's had a nice debut, hasn't he, in the preseason? Assertive and a big guy with that skating ability. I mean, it's tough to turn away from that. Again, the question is going to be, do the Canucks need this player, or can they store this player? Where are you on that for Mancini?
If he keeps playing like that, he has to make this team. You could see he's a little bit older, right, compared to DPD and especially Tom Willander. He's got more pro experience, and that polish shows. Those reps, the way that he goes back for pucks in the defensive zone. Contrast how dynamic he is as a puck rusher and on breakouts between him and Willander, right? And Willander also skates beautifully, but you can just tell the age and experience gap there, where Mancini is just able to dictate. When he goes back for a puck in the defensive zone, he can sense where the forechecking pressure is. He does his shoulder checks. He's clean and confident. And then when he picks up steam, I mean, he's a one-man breakout machine in those scenarios. You also saw him the first period stepping up defensively and kind of laying the boom as well. I will say there were still a couple of moments where he's still a high event player, where because he's trying to do so many things, a couple moments where he's out of position defensively, or he does, make a mistake. And I think for him to really stick as a top six defenseman on this NHL team, he's going to have to make sure that the coaching staff can trust that he's not going to make the big mistake. But the physical tools are all there, and he clearly stood out, and I thought was their best defenseman last night.
It's funny because he didn't seem comfortable on the puck last year in his NHL work, Harm, and yet he seems so comfortable on the puck in his AHL body of work and in this preseason game. I find myself not really knowing what to make of him, like whether there's going to be puck skills, rush skills, puck transportation, offensive numbers in his game at the NHL level, or if he's just going to have to be a safer guy in the NHL.
Is he better off with 70 AHL games this year or 43 NHL games?
I think he's better off spending some time in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's at the age now where he's not 20 years old anymore. He's getting closer to his mid-20s, and I thought he's shown some really promising things in the AHL. Now it's just a matter for me with Mancini of showing that his IQ and ability to make reads is up to NHL standards. That's, I thought, where where and why he maybe was up and down performance-wise when we saw him playing NHL games was especially when he got that opportunity with Quinn Hughes and it didn't go well. Part of it was in defensive situations, he was out of position. He wasn't reading the play quite right. And then even with the puck, he didn't have as many opportunities against regular season NHL competition to single-handedly rush the puck up the ice. And so in those situations on breakouts, it was, I've got to make quick decisions under pressure, and he didn't look as comfortable. I thought it's tough because I thought he was a lot better in those spots and with those reads in the AHL playoffs, but that's the AHL, right? The pace is slower. It's a different game. So we'll ultimately see, but the physical tools alone definitely shine. It's just a matter of can the brain keep up.
We'll stick with defense on Wielander. He was listed as one of the guys who didn't help himself in training camp. Harm, you've touched on it a little bit, but expand on Tom Wielander and what we've seen of him thus far.
Yeah, it's nothing concerning. He's 20 years old and doesn't have a single pro game under his belt. He's trying to make the transition from college, and you can tell that there are some kinks to iron out. Now, the positive is that last night, I think you saw defensively a few sequences where, especially defending the rush, he does a really good job of funneling puck carriers to the outside and eliminating and killing plays. He had one of those sequences on Manny Beniers. There was another play, I want to say in the first period, where DPD was caught up the ice a little bit. They sprung Shane Wright, and Wielander did a terrific job of just sticking to him, playing a tight gap, and not allowing Wright to generate a dangerous chance. But I think his puck play, you can see the difference between him and Mancini. First shift of the game, he went back for the puck, and look, it was a tough spot because there was forechecking pressure right on him. Puck was sort of rolling behind the net, but he was unable to settle it and make the quick little outlet to get the Canucks out of their zone, which it's a tough play, but at the NHL level, all defensemen can make that play more often than not. And I just think his puck skills and control in those kind of awkward spots isn't quite there yet. It's not polished. Even in D zone retrieval drills and camp, you can see sometimes he's having to look down at the puck. This is an observation that a couple of us made, as opposed to head up all the way. And because of that, I don't think he's able to as quickly shoulder check and understand where our forecheckers coming at me. And he isn't immediately aware of where are my outs, where are my options to relieve pressure. So he still looks a little bit uncomfortable on those D-zone retrievals. And that's why, despite the skating ability, I don't think his work on breakouts is quite up to big league standards yet. And that's okay. He just needs some time to work on that in the A, I think.
Lastly, Harm, Linus Karlsson, we know he's a bubble guy. He looked terrific late last year for the Canucks, and then was extraordinary for the AHL Calder Cup trophy run. Listed as one of your camp standouts. What did you like from him?
I'm high on him, and I think he has the early edge, or he should have the early edge for making this team compared to some of the, let's say, Bain, Sasson, Kravtsov kind of tier of fringe depth forwards. First of all, his skating looks a little bit quicker. It already did. I was
going to ask you about that, yeah.
I think he already made progress in that area towards the end of the season, but I think he made more incremental progress in training camp. Within a few minutes, you could tell getting up and down the ice that, okay, he doesn't look like a statue the way he did 2 or 3 training camps ago, which is really important because I look at the other parts of his game. I like his size. I like his wall work. He's a smart player. He's got underrated hands, especially in tight areas. He goes to the front of the net. He's a big body. There's just a lot to like there in terms of what he could provide in a bottom 6 role. And he played on the line with Atu Ratu on Saturday scrimmage, and those two had a lot of good chemistry together.
It's not an easy change to make, but it is a game changer in terms of being noticed, isn't it? Especially if you weren't blessed. It goes back to the Horvat summer as well, where you come back, you weren't a noted skater, not slow, but not noted. And if you gain that extra gear, I mean, it's like you've got balloons and a flag above,
it's revolutionary.
Like it just changes everything.
100%. I remember the first time seeing him at a Penticton Young Stars, and you could already tell, all right, his size is intriguing. In high traffic areas, he's got good puck skills. But man, I don't know if this guy's going to have the foot speed to ever dream of making the NHL. But he's made so much progress in that area. And look, by NHL standards, is his skating still subpar? Yes, but I think it has gotten to the point where it's sufficient enough to not single-handedly hold him back, especially because, as I alluded to earlier, I like a lot of the other attributes in his game.
Yeah.
Well, we like the attributes in your game, buddy. Keep kicking ass at The Athletic. Love reading your stuff. And, of course, with David Quadrelli on Canucks Conversation. Appreciate the time, Harm.
Thank you, guys.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center in this show, a presentation of Simply Spiked.
And I love the difference that you get with Simply Spiked. It's not your ordinary drink. When you need a change, Simply Spiked is there for you. Even the change within the change. They have so many flavors. 3 variety packs, your lemonade pack, your limeade pack, your peach pack, and 3 different flavors within all of those. So it's impossible to get bored by Simply Spiked. 5% alcohol, contains real fruit juice, refreshing drink, and is just good to have around for your next hangout. Again, surprise people, something new. Introduce them to Simply Spiked and how much fun it is, especially with the sun out, and we've had so much of that lately. It is just, it's just the perfect drink to have around.
It is.
So make sure
you really enjoyed the limeade at my house, although she likes the peach and lemonade as well.
Just the straight limeade, or you like the
Yep. Over ice, very simple, over ice, on the balcony, in the sunset.
Natural ingredients, all there for you. Pick up your Simply Spiked at your local liquor store for your next hangout. Must be legal drinking age. And please, celebrate responsibly.
Here's Jeff Patterson, our Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver. He took in training camp. He took in the preseason game. The first preseason game last night, and he joins us now. Jeff, afternoon.
Yeah, hi guys. Hey, last time I saw Matt was across a water hazard on the Penticton Golf course late on Friday afternoon.
Finishing up in 81, Jeff. It was a good day on the golf course. As a matter of fact, I hope you had a nice time there at Penticton as well. Braden Cootes, got to ask you about him off the top. The young man looked outstanding in camp, but you tell me what impressed. And then, of course, last night in the preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the things that we heard about him leading into the draft, and then when the Canucks selected him 15th overall in June, we have seen unfold in these last few days in Penticton, where the hockey IQ is high, the motor's always running, the shot looks NHL ready, but he's slight. He's 18 years old. He certainly has to fill out, and so didn't shy away. I mean, great opportunity for him to dip his toe into NHL waters in his first preseason game in his adopted hometown of Seattle. I don't think there was ever any doubt that he was going to play that game for the Vancouver Canucks. I think that there's every opportunity for him to continue to progress here and put his best foot forward. I love the fact that they attached him to Kiefer Sherwood from day one of training camp. And part of that, Adam Foote explained after the game last night, was to give him an up-close look at a guy who, work rate is through the roof. And then in game action, the hope was that maybe Kiefer Sherwood would draw a little attention from defenders and create some space for Braden Cootes to do his thing. So picks up an assist on the Mancini goal. He's on the score sheet. It was a nice little pass. It wasn't like he went end-to-end and skated through a bunch of players. This isn't the highlight reel type of guy. I think this is a guy that there's a fair bit of comparison to a young Bo Horvat. He's just a guy that loves the game, shows up, competes hard, does just about everything well. And now it's a question of how quickly can he develop and progress here? And is there a legitimate shot of him breaking camp with the Vancouver Canucks? Because, of course, waivers come into play. If he takes a roster spot, somebody else, they got to find room for them, whether it's in the organization or outside the organization. So, some dominoes would have to fall, and that probably works against him. But again, we're just getting started here with preseason, and so far, very good for Braden Cootes.
I can't decide if he's better served on a team like this that needs a center, or if he's better served on a team that is flush with centers and he's a nice additive that you can sort of sprinkle in and see if he's ready. Like, is this the perfect kind of team for him to make this debut, or should it be with a team that's flush at center and not desperate for him?
Yeah, look, if he makes the Vancouver Canucks, it's going to be because he has done enough and he's impressed, but there is an element of desperation, and I think it will sort of back up everything that we've talked about through the offseason of how thin they are down the middle, that this guy was able to, push through and ultimately onto the roster. So, I know you're asking here on the poll question, should he play in the National Hockey League? Should he be on the Vancouver Canucks roster? I'm still a believer in him going back to junior, playing a ton in every situation, dominating, using that World Junior team as a carrot to try to get that opportunity. And then, he's going to qualify under the new rules of the CBA as a 19-year-old to play professional hockey either in the NHL or the AHL next year. And so that's an option that's open to him 12 months from now, but isn't right now. So, again, if he does enough, and he's got that right shot that works in his favor when we talk about centermen. I know the organization, and most organizations are high on their first rounders, obviously, so that kind of goes without saying. But the things that I just said certainly heard echoed from coaching staff and management in Penticton. They were really impressed with what they've seen through the prospect showcase the week before, and now through a couple of on-ice sessions in Penticton, and then the preseason game in Seattle.
So the calculus takes us down, Jeff, to Arshdeep Bains, Vitaly Kravtsov, or Linus Karlsson. And the question being, would you risk losing one or two of those guys on waivers to keep Braden Cootes? What says you? Do you think there are takers on Karlsson, Bains, Kravtsov on the waiver wire? Do you think the club would risk losing one or more of those guys to give Cootes the look-see early in the season?
I don't think they should be terribly worried about Kravtsov. This is a little bit of a crapshoot, a guy that wants a second chance here. And it's my understanding that there were teams around the National Hockey League inquiring with the Canucks through the summer months about what they were planning to do with him, because remember, he didn't sign until August. So, from that, at least some kicking of the tires. I kind of feel like every organization has an Arshdeep Bains, and that's not a knock on Arshdeep Bains. There's just every team has a guy that's right there knocking on the door, has a lot of skill set or a lot in the toolbox that intrigues, but maybe hasn't been able to find that one thing that sets him apart in the National Hockey League. I think coming off the playoff run that Linus Karlsson had, that there probably would be a team out there that was willing to give him a shot if he was to go on waivers. I don't think he's at risk of being placed on waivers, but those other two, I think it is fair to sort of boil it down. I think at this stage right now, Jonathan Lekkermaki's been relatively quiet through camp, and even in the preseason, there have been a few flashes here and there with that big shot of his. But it looks like he's destined to start the season in the American Hockey League because he doesn't require waivers. So I think that's a separate category. So the guys that you identify, those probably are the legitimate candidates that are here and battling. And quite frankly, Kravtsov didn't do much to catch my attention through the sessions in Penticton. And, we'll see what happens here through the preseason.
Yeah, preseason is going to be important for those guys because, as we know, drills can only show you so much. Gameplay present something else, and for a guy that did well in gameplay last season like Kravtsov, I am curious to see how that changes. Are you disappointed that Lekkerimaki hasn't forced that issue more? Because that would have complicated things even further, but now it's made easy with him not looking ready.
Yeah, he still looks so slight to me, and I remind myself that he's relatively young, and I can't imagine that he is fully filled out and this will be a finished product. But when you see guys that have been doing this for a decade at the highest levels, and then he steps onto the ice, these are the guys that he has to battle against and find a way to win those battles. It's not just about a shot. At this level, most guys can shoot the puck. Now, his shot, it is a bit of a separator for him. But in order to get that shot away, he's got to find ways to get time and space and all those types of things. And it's not just about a shooting gallery. So disappointed? No, I don't want to go there. But, there's still work to be done. I think he recognizes that. I'm sure the hockey club recognizes that as well. They continue to put him in positions he skated with Philip Hedl and Evander Kane at training camp. Like, that was a position to succeed. Those are two legitimate National Hockey Leaguers, and I'm not sure that he took full advantage of the opportunity that was presented to him. So work to be done there. He'll probably go and start the season in Abbotsford as a true, finisher and a guy that's going to be put in a position to really excel down there. And hopefully he finds that mojo, and he'll be a guy that gets called up. He'll play NHL games, I think, for the Vancouver Canucks this season.
Oh, yeah.
But my sense is that he will start down on the farm.
Yeah, staying with this group and staying with the Cootes storyline, because, of course, all the domino, it's all interconnected here, Jeff. I caught what you were saying about that Teddy Bluger, Niels Hoglander, Connor Garland line in training camp, that you expect them to be a thing when the regular season gets going. So I'd like to hear more about that. But also, it sounds very much like they want Teddy Bluger at least to be the leader in the clubhouse here for the third line center spot. And that means Räty in the fourth hole. And that means Cootes having a fight up against both of those guys. So talk to me about that line, and talk to me how they've slotted the center iceman.
Yeah. Again, training camp's one thing, and then you get to the preseason, and Teddy Bluger spent much of the night with Drew O'Connor on his wing, and I think that's a duo that you could see play. And of course, those two killed penalties, and that was something that I wanted to keep pretty close tabs on in the game in Seattle last night, and I think we got some answers there that, Drew O'Connor is going to be given an opportunity to sort of fill that role of Pia Suter. The question is, can he kill penalties as effectively as Suter did for the Canucks, and a winger, not a centerman. So we'll see how things go. Look, I'm not a huge believer in Teddy Bluger as any sort of offensive finisher. And I know he had the nice run with Garland and Dakota Joshua a couple of seasons ago. No sooner did I say this than he showed some nice hands in the scrimmage on Saturday and scored his team's lone goal. So he's an NHLer. But he's never been a guy that you can count on to produce an awful lot of offense. He's not a gifted playmaker. And I think on a successful team, you're going three lines deep, where that third line center has to be more than just a defensive conscience and a guy that treads water and gets off the ice with no damage done. Maybe where the Canucks are right now in their competitive arc, maybe those expectations are a little high on a third line center. On my depth chart, all summer long, I guess I've wanted to believe that maybe I could manifest it into happening, that Aatu Räty would rise up and become that third line center and take full advantage of the opportunity that's presented for him. I thought he had moments at training camp. Again, he's not a flashy guy, and we're all watching the skating closely, and it's no question. He's a guy that has to work to get from point A to point B, where a lot of those guys at that level make it look so effortless. You cannot put Aatu Räty in that category. Will the skating improve? We'll see. And he's still only 22. It feels like time has stood still around Aatu Räty. How is he not 23 or 24 or 25?
That's right.
For a few more months, he will be 22 years of age.
That's the good news here. Yeah.
Yep. It's not quite the 18-year-old Sam Bennett, but it does sort of feel like we've just locked in on him never reaching that 23rd birthday, which I think happens some point in November. So, you know what you've got in Teddy Bluger, right? A pro through and through, and he's going to give you what he can. But boy, if he is the third-line center, I think you're leaning an awful lot on Connor Garland truly being the motor and the engine on that line, and Teddy Bluger sort of drafting off whatever Connor Garland can do to make some things happen in the offensive zone.
Well, it really muddles who the heck is the third line. I guess any line that has Connor Garland on it becomes the third line, but it really, the other five guys in the bottom six are... It's pretty muddled as to who's the skill guy that's going to bring home the points there other than Garland.
Should also know that was a line when Lekkerimaki was skating with Heatle and Kane, right. Jeff. And if we're saying that Lekkerimaki hasn't shown enough, then he's not going to keep that second line station. I would suspect that Connor Garland might be the guy that moves up.
I think it's an open spot. I think Niels Hoglander would love to claim a spot there too.
Fair
right?
enough. He's a candidate.
Yeah, and look, Hoglander skated miles at training camp, as he always does. He drew a couple of penalties in the preseason game against Seattle. Like, there were moments there from him, but ultimately it's all about a bottom line for him, and it cannot be anything close to another 8-goal season like it was last year. Like, it just can't. And even at that, he kind of got a pass because of what he was making. His new contract kicks in. He's a $3 million guy, and so there is some new pressure on Nils Hoglander to perform that maybe hasn't been there to this point in his National Hockey League career. And so baby steps through camp in the preseason, but a week from now, 10 days from now, we can't be pointing at penalties drawn as sort of the high watermark for Nils Hoglander. There has to be some sort of tangible takeaway. But you're right. If Jonathan Lekkerimaki is not the answer, then that becomes a big question, sort of who rounds out the top 6 for the Vancouver Canucks. We saw Kiefer Sherwood in spot duty was able to slide in there. And again, another guy that you're never going to question the effort. But on a really good team, Kiefer Sherwood, probably not a top 6 forward, but in a pinch could slide in there. But Connor Garland would seem like the obvious answer. But then it's the trickle down. Does Kiefer Sherwood slide into a third line role? I think that's palatable, given what we saw with 19 goals and all of the hits last year for Kiefer Sherwood. But, Teddy Bluger, Kiefer Sherwood, Drew O'Connor, does that rev your engine if that's a third line for the Vancouver Canucks? And then it asks or begs the question, ultimately, who's rounding out, your fourth line?
And Kiefer Sherwood is still Kiefer Sherwood. Like, if you told me
that's 19-goal Kiefer Sherwood, okay?
If you told me he gets 15 goals this year, I want that signed and sealed. Like, I don't think people should have the expectation it's another 19-goal season. Isn't that unfair, do you think?
Yeah, this guy had never scored more than 10 in the NHL and almost doubled. And so, it kind of comes back to where this club was 2 years ago when everybody had career highs. And we said, like, how are they going to get there and back that up? And we saw what happened. And collectively, the group fell flat on its face last year. Kiefer Sherwood's going to hustle. He's going to hit. If he doesn't get to 462 hits again, I don't think anybody needs to be alarmed.
Nope.
He's going to take on more of a penalty killing role. I had a great chat with him in Penticton about that and how much he had learned on the job in 1 year. Because at this time last year, Rick Tocchet was like, I like the motor. I like how tenacious he is. Hey, maybe there's a penalty killer there. But he really hadn't killed penalties at the NHL level until last year. And so there was a lot of on-the-job learning. I like the line where he said, I learned to love penalty killing. And I think it allows him to sort of spread his wings and do all the things that have made him effective in the National Hockey League. It's a contract year for him. I know there was some suggestion that the two sides had been talking. I do wonder if the Canucks are going to take a wait and see. And how do you back up the kind of year that he had last year? And ultimately, if all of those numbers across the board fall, what are acceptable levels? And I'm with you, Blake. I mean, if you could sign up for 15 goals and all the physical presence from Kiefer Sherwood plus some penalty killing, I think you'd sign up for that. But then begs the question, are you looking at any sort of long-term contract? At what price point? This is a guy that's 30 now. How many 30-year-olds do you want locked up long-term if you're the Vancouver Canucks? And, of course, the end of it is this core group really hasn't shown anything in the big picture. And so I think, management wants to see this group perform individually and collectively before they're handing out any more contracts.
Sherwood's the opposite of Räty. He should be younger than he is. I think if we could make Räty 25, Sherwood 27, that would feel better.
What's the movie where the guy ages backwards?
Benjamin Button?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a world where Victor Mancini could make this team and knock Pierre-Olivier Joseph to the waiver wire? Is there a world where they keep 8 defensemen, Jeff, with Mancini and Joseph, and just the 13 forwards, which, of course, would expose a couple of the aforementioned forwards to the waiver wire? What's your forecast on Mancini
the number, I mean, as I sit here right now, I guess I kind of thought they would go 14-7 until the dust settled because they got all these young guys on the back end that they can send down to the minors. But based on the weekend, I would say that Victor Mancini has really put his best foot forward. I thought he was good in the scrimmage, looking a lot more like the American Hockey League Victor Mancini. And I say that meaning the guy that was confident and, carried the puck and made things happen. And obviously the goal last night, I liked the play where first time, he doesn't have a shooting lane, and instead of panicking or just blasting it in his shin pads, he peels off, regroups, back to Cootes, and then he found the lane again, and the second time was able to score the goal. So I thought, some poised patience on the part of Victor Mancini as well. I know Adam Foote after the game said, there's some times we got to calm him down a little bit. That's fine. He's young and he's learning and all those types of things. But the raw tools, I mean, they're there. He checks off a lot of boxes. And so I didn't think it was a particularly strong outing for P.O. Joseph in his first game in a Vancouver Canuck uniform, but it's one preseason game in which the Canucks were certainly overmatched and outmanned, and I thought they were game. Didn't go quietly. It looked like the game might get away from them at 4-1, and then they pushed back, and I thought maybe we were the better team in the third period to make it a hockey game again. So P.O. Joseph's a beautiful skater. I've watched him at UBC, watched him at training camp. The skating is certainly NHL level. This is a guy that has close to 200 games at the NHL level under his belt as well. So he's got some experience that other group of Mancini and Hoglander and DPD don't have yet. But ultimately, it's what have you done for me lately and how do you perform? And I think he knows the situation, that there's this collection of young talent that's pushing from below. He's kind of got to fend them off. And so he went into camp with a little bit of a buffer, I think, just because of that experience. But, as a guy like Mancini narrowed the gap, I would say yes. And so I think it's going to be interesting. And there's always a couple of guys through the preseason that the team rolls out. I remember they did it to Jack Rathbone a couple of years ago, Adam Gaudette as well, where they keep playing them, right? And it's like, all right, you had a decent game. Let's see it again and again. And I'm really curious to see, who's going to be that guy this year. And I'm a big believer in the preseason that if you're asked to play, like that's a great opportunity to put your best foot forward. I would rather play every game than be in the press box watching other guys take a step forward. And so, yes, it's a test, but I think at this point, all these guys are looking for opportunities. And we'll see. And I'm not suggesting that they're going to play P.O. Joseph game after game after game, but I do wonder if somebody in this battle for one of these defenseman spots is that guy this year that gets repeatedly asked to step up and perform.
Well, three of these next four are on the road, and we know that they don't like to send over too many veterans to the road games. So I would suspect a lot of these bubble players are still going to play 3 of these 4 games, right? It's going to be fun to see that battle play.
Well, one's in Abbotsford. Yeah.
Yeah, and the game in Abbotsford on Wednesday, we saw the Canucks put out the infographic with Thatcher Demco, Tyler Myers and Marcus Paterson, Philip Hedl, Connor Garland. Now, I take you back 12 months when, remember, JT Miller was the poster boy for the first home preseason game, and then he didn't play, and that seemed to cause a firestorm. And then we found out that, he was battling through something in the preseason, and that just kind of set the ball rolling for a forgettable year. So take that with a grain of salt, but those were the guys that were used in the advertising to sell tickets out in Abbotsford. And so just to touch on Thatcher Demco guys quickly, and we've talked about, I said how healing it was just to see him looking free and healthy out in the summer skates. Then the next level was training camp. And, if you ask me who had a good weekend in Penticton, I thought Thatcher Demco looked really, really good. Again, I get it. It was a weekend of training camp. That's all it was. But in the scrimmage, didn't give up a goal. You can't ask for a whole lot more from your goalie. His job is to stop pucks that come his way. He did that. Took a knock when Max Sasson was pushed into him by Derek Former, dusted himself up, popped back up. I mean, for a guy that was moving at half speed at this time last year, I just think all of these are really encouraging signs for Thatcher Demco. And so if he gets tapped to play, whether it's the full game or even just a part of the game in Abbotsford, that's going to be the next level. Game action, loose pucks in and around the blue paint. You can face shots from distance all you want. It's some of those situational moments within games that are the real challenge for a goaltender to track pucks and to sort of get the speed of the pro game again. So, the scrimmage was Thatcher Demco's first game action in 6 months. He came through that with flying colors, and so on to the next challenge. But I just think he has the potential to be such a difference maker and a guy that can single-handedly change the conversation around the Vancouver Canucks if he's able to regain that Vezina caliber form. And so through the first couple of checkpoints here in September, it's been nothing but good news in and around Thatcher Demco.
Please don't use popped with regards to Demco. It's too close to
popped,
Popliteus.
right?
It's too close to Popliteus. It hurts.
Jeff, often ask you this on Monday, but the week ahead for the Vancouver Canucks, things you'll be looking at, and what should they be aware of as we move into the full preseason?
Yeah, full team day off on Monday, and so they'll be back at it. I think they're at UBC on Tuesday, skating in 2 groups. They've still got enough bodies in camp that now they may get it down to a game group or primarily an NHL group, and then the rest we'll see how Adam Foote conducts his business. But Wednesday, they're out in Abbotsford for the first home with an asterisk preseason game. And then Seattle comes calling on Friday for the first game of the preseason at Rogers Arena. And then, they wrap things up with the final 2 of the final 3 next week out on the road. So, we're not getting much in the way of messaging in terms of the lineup for Wednesday just yet. I think we'll have a better idea of that on Tuesday. And then I would expect that, we might be looking at Thursday as the next round of cuts, get through the next game, maybe get some of the young guys 1 game in Canuck colors here in the preseason. But because it's only a 6-game preseason, you get through these first 2 and, all of a sudden time starts ticking down towards those really difficult decisions. So I would think that they would slim things down in terms of the numbers that they've got, and maybe, I don't know this, but I'm just suggesting maybe Thursday will be the next round of cuts for the Vancouver Canucks.
Marvelous stuff. Thank you, Jeff. We'll catch up Friday. Thank you for this.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Secure some price from the historic Wall Center built by Arbor Lee, and cheer louder when you're rested. Book your staycation here at the Wall, just minutes from the stadium and arena. Unlock the Secure some price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. Well, what can you say about the good ship Vancouver Whitecaps FC? They just roll along. It's a 2-0 win over Kansas City, minus all of their top players. Eddie Ocampo scores a minute into this game. Kenji Cabrera impresses in his first MLS start. He gets the second goal. They move into second place in the MLS West. They gain ground on conference-leading San Diego, and they can clinch a top 4 finish and home pitch advantage for the best-of-3 first-round series with a win Wednesday at BC Place against the Cascadia rival Portland Timbers.
They've also got fate in their hands with regards to the Supporters Shield, which is
first overall in the league.
Regular season title, if you will, which a lot of people will consider sort of the Euro Championship because that's what they do in Europe. It's worth a lot when you think about how many months and weeks you put into that. They're the only team that has fate in their hands, but they've also got the most games left. So that opens up to a little bit more of a variety of results, obviously. But pretty cool to see them in the final 5 matches of the season have fate in their own hands for a Supporter Shield.
Their 55 points are a club record already, again, with 5 games remaining. 56 goals this season. That's a club record in the MLS as well. They've outscored their opponents 15-0 in the last 281 minutes, and their plus 25 goal differential is the best in MLS by 5. Yohei Takaoka, his 13th clean sheet of the season. That leads regular season play in MLS. And between Takaoka and Isaac Boehmer of Okanagan Falls, BC, they have not conceded a goal in 287 minutes across all competitions, Blake. If you missed this one, they played it without the German superstar Thomas Muller, who did not make the trip with an adductor injury. Is there anything to fear there, or was that simply just it's a DP? We don't need to travel him to Middle America in a game we should win anyways.
I hope it's that. I don't have confirmation that it's that. I saw the.
Hope he's good to go Wednesday.
I saw the adductor report as well. Then I saw another report that had ankle. So I don't know what it is, and the fact that there's confusion over it leads me to believe that they were just picking injuries out of the hat, maybe.
Well,
I hope that's the case. Now it does sound like Brian White's playing one of these 2 matches going forward, so they'll get him back at the very least. I hope he's not injured.
Muller, Gold, White, Tristan Blackman, Ranko Veselinovic, Sam Adekube, Jodrik Pipa, and Sebastian Schonlau all missed this game. That's 6 starters out of the 11. How about replacement center back Bilal Halbouni with an incredible tackle in the box to save a breakaway and a certain goal? Jesper Sorensen has gotten so much out of this entire roster. It is truly one of the great coaching jobs I've seen in Vancouver sports over my 18 years here. Frankly, it's even better than the job Rick Tocchet did 2 years ago in his Jack
when
Adams
you're winning matches
season.
with the B team, like dominantly winning matches
That's it.
on the road with your B team.
Yeah.
That's something else.
Now, here's the bad news. Ocampo and Andres Cubas will both be suspended versus Portland due to yellow card accumulation. So going to have to do it again with not your full roster.
On the plus side, though, they get that out of the way. You know,
Prior to the playoffs,
yes,
you mean, or prior
yeah,
to? Okay.
Yeah, prior to the playoffs, prior to even more
Do they
consequential
carry over
games.
into the postseason?
I forget the rules on that, if they clear the decks for the playoffs or not.
Okay.
But still, for the
last.
last two games, you know, at home, you'd hate for those two games at home to be mired by no Cubas. And, hey, Ocampo has had a wonderful season as well. So good to see those guys, you know, get that out of the way. You hope that they've got reinforcements. And I would guess that Pupa, or I'm almost 100% that Pupa is available on Wednesday. And he can play he and Schonlau have played a little bit more forward, both of them. So if they're both available, maybe one of them could be the number 6. Who knows?
That's in the defensive midfield.
Yeah.
Okay. Seattle lost to Austin at the death yesterday, so that allows for this clinching scenario on Wednesday against Portland because the pursuers there, LAFC and Seattle, if Vancouver were to win on Wednesday, could not get to the Caps' total of points, and thus that clinches that top 4 first-round home field. Minnesota got dummied at home 3-0 by Chicago Saturday. That allowed Vancouver to move 1 point past them and into second place with 2 games in hand on the Loons. And San Diego only managed a 1-1 draw with Atlanta, which gained Vancouver 2 points in the standings and put them 2 back of the conference leaders again with 2 games in hand. You can see it there for those watching on visual platforms. And, of course, they have this Canadian Championship Series coming up on October 1st at BC Place, the All-Vancouver Derby against Vancouver FC of the CPL. And guess what? They also won 2-1 over York United, just their 3rd win of the CPL schedule, and their first home win at Willoughby in Langley in more than a year.
Now, they have not been a good team this year, Vancouver FC. The last thing the Whitecaps want them to be suddenly finding themselves here leading up until the final.
Well, this is their Super Bowl, right, on October 1st. And, yes, they are in much better form than they have been for most of this season. Massive win for the British Columbia Lions Friday over Calgary, missing all of those players as well. Since the theme here.
Yeah.
They walk into McMahon. They open a 28-3 lead on the Stamps, and they do not look back in a 52-23 romp that quarterback Nathan Rourke called their best game of the season. Backup tailback Xander Horvath in for the injured James Butler. He lugs it 12 times for 152 yards and a score. Rourke throws for 2 TDs. He runs for 3 more. He breaks Russ Jackson's single-season record for passing yards by a Canadian. That mark goes back to the 60s.
And he's still got games left, runway left.
Oh, lots of runway. Keon Hatcher extends his league lead with 147 receiving yards on 8 catches. Mathieu Betts, 2 sacks. He's up to 10. First player to hit double digits this year. He also leads the league. BC was missing its 2 starting offensive tackles. Butler, slot back Javon Cotoy. They made 7 roster changes and still won. Going away, their first meeting against Calgary this year. And let's check the standings there, Blake. Lions now back to 500 at 7-7.
That Ottawa game is going to stick in my craw.
It sure is. It is still tied with Winnipeg for 3rd in the West, but losing a tiebreaker, they can't meet up. The Bombers won the head-to-head this year.
Now, the other
They're
thing...
just 1.5 back of Calgary. with one more head-to-head to play.
And the Calgary Stampeders lose Vernon Adams in the game. They lose P.J. Walker as well, as it turns out. They had to sign a quarterback today. Now, you wish that the return match was this week, where you could almost guarantee that you're not facing Vernon Adams. It's 2 weeks away, October the 4th. Mm-hmm. But you do wonder, like, what's the status going to be of their quarterbacking in 2 weeks' time? Are they going to be better off than they are in this moment, which is they're pretty damn desperate.
Calgary's into Montreal Friday, too. BC 2 full games ahead of Edmonton, who lost in Hamilton, and a game ahead of Toronto for the final playoff spot and the crossover playoff spot in the East. That's where they'd go right now. They play host to the Argos Friday. It's their annual Orange Shirt Day game, Truth and Reconciliation holiday. And that's their final game against the East Division this year before, as Blake mentioned, hosting Calgary October 4th. They've announced the Upper Bowl is open for that game, a.k.a. the Gravy Bowl, Thanksgiving weekend, with a 4 p.m. kickoff.
It just made me really hungry. Just saying gravy made me hungry.
Going into Thanksgiving weekend. They have a bye. And big news from the CFL today, and new Commissioner Stuart Johnson, who puts his stamp on the league. 6 significant rule changes taking place over the next 2 seasons, with 3 each in 2026 and 2027. For 2026, an automatic 35-second play clock. One of the huge differences between the CFL and the American game, and I'm not sure fans would recognize this as much as players. I think of particularly the big defensive linemen. This is a massive change for them. In the NFL, you got a 40-second play clock. So the play ends, you've got 40 seconds until the next snap has to take place. In the CFL, it was a blow the play dead, have the officials spot the ball for play, set the chains, and then 20 seconds. So it typically went a little faster, snap to snap, and that's still going to be the case. It's just an automatic 35-second play clock, and that'll be running, Blake.
There's no variable. Yeah, it's in stone.
The one thing I will say is that could cut off some comebacks at the pass when the clock is a big factor late in a game, because you now have the possibility of the clock running out before you can get the snap off. Whereas in the previous world, so long as there was a second left on the clock when the play was blown dead, you got that next play regardless of whether the clock hit 000 or not. Next year, they're moving the team benches on opposite sides of the field.
Briefly had an era where they were trying to get them on the same side, but it was silly. It promoted interaction in hotly contested games. It's just cumbersome too. The only person that it was good for was the sideline reporter, who didn't have to walk back and forth. But other than that,
it's reared its head at BC Place and at TD Bank Stadium in Ottawa have been the two hotspots for 2 benches on one sideline, and no rouge for missing a field goal wide in 2026. Then in 2027, the big ones.
Yeah.
The goalposts are being moved from the goal line to the back of the end zone. Now, there's probably a good safety reason for that. The CFL also thinks that will allow for more touchdowns because the goalposts can't. While sometimes you will see some tricky offenses use the goalposts almost like a pick for the defensive backs, oftentimes you will also see quarterbacks and receivers not want to operate in that territory, risk the ball hitting the post, risk having to run into the goalposts.
I saw Derek Taylor saying there isn't a lot of forensic evidence that the posts dissuade or have knocked down a lot of passes.
They haven't.
But what we do know, I think, is it does dissuade activity in that middle part.
Yeah, unless you think you can be really precise and, again, use the goalpost almost like a pick. That said, the end zones are now going from 20 yards to 15, and to me, that's going to result in fewer touchdowns because you have fewer room. You have less room to operate, and of course, these will be extending the field goals as well. So every time I hear of huge, and I did not see Stewart's presentation, Commissioner Johnston's presentation today. We'll check in on that for tomorrow and beyond. But every time I see huge changes made to the actual gameplay, I do wonder about unintended consequences. Field goals are going to be longer. You're taking away some of that room at the back of the end zone. Whatever you may gain by moving the goalposts, I do wonder if you lose in touchdowns and points.
Still a jumbo end zone compared to the NFL.
So 5 yards bigger.
Still 50% bigger than the NFL thing. And in terms of the field goal, you've reduced the size of the field from 110 yards to 100 yards.
That's the other
so
big change.
Offensive thrusts are going to put you in a deeper position now.
It's just the field goal is going to be longer. So, for example, if you're on the 20-yard line, it's usually about 7 yards back to the point where the kick is going to be attempted, and then you're adding 15 on that because the end zone. So it's a 42-yard field goal from the 20-yard line.
Right, but let's say your drive began on your own 40.
Fair.
Now a 40-yard drive takes you deeper into their territory than before. Right? So you're getting 10 yards back there.
Yeah. First blush, I don't love the 20 to 15-yard end zones. That's just my first blush.
But I think they did that because of what you just talked about.
The field goals.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because when a ball on the 20-yard with a 20-yard end zone is a 47-yard field goal, wow, you're going to have a lot fewer made field goals.
Yes. Yeah. Overall, I like it. I see the logic behind all of it. I think it's cleaner, neater.
I was open to change. I adapt or die. I have found myself losing some interest in the CFL regular season over the last number of years, particularly when we get to the fall and the busy sports calendar begins. Like I watch a lot of Thursday night and Friday night football in the summer. And then I don't find myself watching as much CFL once we get past Labor Day until we get down to the stretch run, of course, and playoffs. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not against these changes, but I do sort of wonder, okay, have we completely thought these out? Have we sketched these out and tried to come across all the unintended consequences? I know there were a lot of rumors flying around yesterday that they're going to go to four downs. They are not going to 4 downs.
I just texted Farhan too. I was like, does this automatically force the hand of Canadian university football? Because there's 3 stadiums that schools use in the league. And his initial reaction was they're going to have different sleeves for the goalposts, and they'll just keep the goalposts where they are for now if they need to. But maybe eventually.
That's McGill plays at Percival Molson.
Stamps.
Calgary. The Dinos play at McMahon.
And Alberta? No.
I don't know where the Golden Bears play.
Or where do the Huskies play? Oh, there's Saskatoon. Regina? No, they don't.
Yes. I will have to figure that out.
McMaster
has their own.
Yeah.
Seahawks blowout 44-13 win at home versus New Orleans. They get a club record 95-yard punt return from Torrey Horton, as well as a blocked punt that led to a score. This was a very weird game because the score was completely out of hand early, and yet you look at the box score, and forgive me, Blake, at 21-0, I moved over to my Bears versus the Cowboys full time.
Yeah.
You look at the box score, and it was hardly like the sort of imbalance that you would typically see in a score that was
prevent defense will do that.
So
right?
look at this tweet from a Seahawks. Seahawks haven't converted a third down. They're losing the time of possession by a 3-1 margin with less than half as many plays. They don't have a sack or a takeaway. They have fewer yards and first downs. They have 8 rushing yards, averaging less than a yard per run. They were up 38-3 at that stage in the ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when you've everything works early on? You just go to prevent. You got a 3-4 score lead
super early.
You don't care if they get
and
a
they
little
were
bit
missing
deeper.
Witherspoon and Love and Eman Wari from the defensive secondary. They were missing Charbonnet. running the football.
That was exactly the tonic that they needed in this week.
A really bad team coming into town. And that really bad team is going to Buffalo next week. I can only imagine what Josh Allen.
Yeah, if the Seahawks offense can do 44 points.
Buffalo by minus 15.5 early in the week.
I take Buffalo easy.
I think so.
Easy.
Seattle goes to Arizona for Thursday night football. Cards lose a heartbreaker to San Francisco to fall 2-1. 49ers undefeated 3-0. Mac Jones got another win. Seattle catches a big break when the Rams game-winning field goal is blocked by Philadelphia on the final play. LA 2-1. Fun weekend of finishes with the block kicks in the Rams-Eagles. Cleveland over Green Bay with a blocked field goal. The Jets think they win a game with a blocked field goal return for a TD, but can't hold on in Tampa.
There's a universe close to this one where Seattle is still in dead last in the division. Like, those are two close calls at the end of those other games where there could be 3-3-0 teams in the NFC West.
For sure.
My goodness.
Well, no, because Arizona and San Francisco were
playing each other. Pardon me. Right.
6-3-0 teams, 6-0-3 teams heading into week 4. And, of course, you got a appetizing Monday nighter tonight with Detroit and Baltimore. Blue Jays snap a 4-game skid with a win in Kansas City Sunday and punch their ticket to the postseason. They have not yet clinched the AL East, but they're the first American League team to 90 wins. They remain in top spot, the first seed, getting a bye in the American League as it stands now. Trey Savage makes his second start. He lasts just 4, but the Bats finally wake up. They had been rather coolish earlier in the week. It's a 2-game lead over the Yankees. The number to clinch the division is 4. Mariners sweep the Astros in what is the single biggest regular season series this franchise has played in nearly a quarter century. They have a 3-game lead and the head-to-head tiebreaker over Houston heading into the final week of the season. They can actually clinch a playoff spot tomorrow with a win against Colorado and a Yankees win. And when I first looked at that, I was like, what in the heck? It's complicated. It gets down to tiebreakers, but a Seattle win and a New York win tomorrow. M's are going dancing. Their magic number to clinch the division is 3.
Well, another world has opened up for them, too, because Detroit is so bad right now.
They are the number 2 seed, and they are right now the number 2 seed and on a playoff bye like the Jays.
They went from, are we making the playoffs, to we might not have to play the first round.
That's right.
Crazy.
This will be their first division title since 2001. They made the playoffs, of course, in 2022, beat the Jays in the wild card, lost to Houston in the DS. It's their only postseason appearance since that outstanding 2001 team fell short. Did you see Saturday night? Victor Robles with an all-time franchise highlight. An out-of-nowhere, Superman-style diving catch in right center. I mean, that's Julio Rodriguez's ball normally, but Victor was like, no, I got this. He throws to second base. It's a game-ending double play. Just and for Robles, who missed all that time after trying to make a acrobatic catch in April.
A great clip out there of that play, of the Houston call of that play. Mm-hmm. Very monotone. They couldn't believe the catch was made. But you can hear
you got to put some mustard on that call.
But you can hear the Seattle call in the booth next door on the Houston mic. That's how crazy the Seattle call's going.
That's great. The Astros hitter, I forget who it was, said, I did not even see or consider Robles as being involved in that play. Right. And then he appeared out of nowhere to make the catch. As Blake mentioned, things are getting very interesting in the American League, where Cleveland goes on a 10-game winning streak to close within 1 game of Detroit, who gets swept by Atlanta for the AL Central. Cleveland has overtaken Houston for the final wildcard spot, so the Astros would not be in the playoffs.
Holy cow.
If it started today. And Blake, this is why I can't quit Twitter. This is Anthony Castrovince covering baseball. They should make a movie about a Cleveland baseball team that wins a lot of games late in the Major League season.
Yeah, that'd be good.
A bunch of misfits, no names.
Yeah.
Maybe a pitcher named Wild Thing.
If you don't get what we're talking about, you're too young.
Oh, I I hope intern Braden knows the reference there.
I hope so too.
Does he know it, Mike? Does he know it?
His headphones on.
Okay. How about this? We talked about this a couple of weeks back when it got going, and Blake, this has turned into a Canadian sport run and potentially a Canadian sport moment for the ages. Women's World Cup of Rugby, where Canada wins 34-19 over New Zealand Friday in their semifinal match. The Black Ferns had won 18 straight matches and 5 of the last 6 World Cups, but the score was flattering to them. I heard from our friend Ambassador Paul down in New Zealand, who was just astounded at how good the Canadian ladies played. Russell Crowe, noted New Zealander Kiwi, says he is pulling for Canada now after watching the match. They play England in the final at 82,000 seats Twickenham, the English cathedral of the sport, for the trophy, 8 a.m. Saturday our time. Blake, the game is already sold out. It will mark a new record crowd for women's rugby, and England, the number 1 ranked Red Roses, as they are called, have won 32 consecutive matches.
What I'm heartened by here, and again, if you haven't watched any of these matches, folks, you have to. It is so exciting.
It is so much better than the men's 15s.
It has been, for sure. And here's the other encouraging thing. England was tested by France, and England has run roughshod in this tournament. Like, really, nobody has been.
So has Canada,
Yeah,
but yes.
but
England and
even
New
more
Zealand
so.
were.
The total points, England was way past Canada for total points, scored.
England and New Zealand were number 1 and number 2 in the world going into this.
But France tested them. Like, it showed that this is doable. Like, Canada can't go into this thinking that they are a long shot here. I think it's going to be a hell of a match. I can't wait, and I'm glad it's on Saturday morning, not Friday morning.
They had to crowdfund to get to this tournament, the Canadian women, and think of it. On Saturday, they're going to play in front of 82,000 people. I mean, there are few Canadian athletes anywhere in any sport that have played before 82,000 people.
It's pretty cool.
Like, you're talking about the Canadians who matriculate to the huge cathedrals of NCAA football, maybe a few soccer stadiums around the world that would seat more than that. I mean, this is just astounding stuff from the Canadian ladies. So looking forward to getting my Saturday going with this match. Penticton V's, well, they took their lumps Friday in Victoria. They lost 5-0 to the Royals in their inaugural WHL game. And they rebounded Saturday here at the LEC, a 5-1 victory over the Vancouver Giants in their home opener, season opener. Brady Burney, congratulations. You are the trivia question, the first goal in the V's Western Hockey League history. Their home opener is Friday against Kelowna. We talked about it last week from Yellow Dog and Penticton. Very nice touch to have the geographic rival there. And World Athletics Championships end on a high for Canada as well. The men's 4x100 team wins silver, finished behind the USA in the pouring rain.
But they were the only two teams they were two teams on an island, and the pack was way behind them. It was very cool to see.
Kelowna's Jerome Blake runs the fastest split of any of the 8 runners on Canada and the United States with an 8.75, and Andre DeGrasse actually outran Noah Lyles in the anchor leg. It was a slow start, bit of a slow start from Aaron Brown, and a bit of a slower third leg that cost Canada. But what a legendary Canadian team, as Ben Steiner points out. Their 6th medal in the last 10 years. They won bronze at the 2015 Worlds in Beijing. They won bronze at the 2016 Olympics in Rio. They won silver at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. They won gold at the World Championships in 2022. They won gold in Paris at last year's Olympics. They took the silver this past weekend in Tokyo. And Aaron Brown actually said, don't forget about our bronze at the World Championships in 2013 in Moscow. So a full suite of both Olympic and World Championship medals for this relay team. Congratulations to all of them. That was fantastic to watch. Marco Arop with the bronze on his birthday in the 800 meters for Canada.
And he was, I think he was battling injury too, so that was good to see him get out of the podium.
Lastly, the results of the Redwoods Golf Course poll question from Friday. We asked you, are you confident in the Elias Pettersson Revenge Tour? Yes or no? People said
no.
They said yes, 72%. Come on. The comments, though, said no. VJ, no. He's Missouri. Show me state. Hassan, absolutely. Guys that good just don't fall off a cliff. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened to him, but there were multiple factors working against him, which seems to be solved now. No cups ever. I think it's inevitable that he improves from last year. Whether he justifies his pay remains to be seen. That's fair. Rod, Revenge Tour. Where the hell does the media come up with this garbage? Revenge for what? He's been in this league for 8 years, and the team is still at the point of wondering why they pissed away millions on his underperforming player. WTF.
His words.
Rod, most fans are optimistic in preseason.
And
you don't have to be, but
the Swedish translation was that he used the word revenge.
Errors and omissions from Friday's program and beyond. Said the Canucks don't have a quad A center. I suppose you could call Niels Oman a quad A center, though he played more on the wing last year. I said the Vancouver Canadians had 4 members, past members on the Blue Jays. Mason Fluharty was actually in Buffalo when I said that. He has since been recalled. He has been a part of that Blue Jays bullpen, particularly in the second half of the season. He's been very good. And then Blake drops a flirtsy and PJ drops a freely wheelie. I don't believe those are English words.
Wow.
Thanks for joining.
You need to look harder.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the show. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. And keep it local.